Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The racist college dropout, Charlie Kirk, blames the black fire chief of the Austin Fire Department for the floods that killed nearly 100 folks in Texas. Not the white Republican sheriff and county commissioners who turned down the money for an early warning system. I got a couple of things to say about that. And speaking of that, the grossly unqualified ICE Barbie, Kristi Noem, delayed sending FEMA to Texas because she had to personally approve them going there. Really? Also on today's show, major shakeup, a founder of the National Association of Black Journalists, works at the Washington Post, quits after the paper kept spiking his federal column. Is the ass kissing at the Washington Post of Trump that serious? We'll talk to him about it. Also, a federal judge in New Hampshire defies the Supreme Court and blocks Donald Trump's executive order targeting birthright citizenship. It's a lot I gotta unpack. Plus, Republicans in Texas continue their racist ways by targeting the black and Hispanic congressional members. They want to redraw the lines to have more white Republicans in Congress. We've seen this before. And lastly, the state representative, the wife of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, announces they're getting divorced. She says, "I'm tired of him being a hoe." Oh, it's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, these white Republicans, these racist ones, Lord, they are trying all they can not to blame their own for the flooding along the Guadalupe River in Texas that led to nearly 100 folks dying, including a lot of young girls at a Christian camp. But the person who really is the case, for actually it's a couple of people, okay? It's that idiot Jack Probosiak. I can't pronounce that stupid idiot's name. But it's the racist Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk, let me set this up. That boy ain't the brightest bulb in the dark room, okay? College dropout, but loves to question the intellect of black people. So what he's been doing is suggesting that Joel Baker, let's show his photo, please. Joel Baker, who is the fire chief of the Austin Fire Department, he's been saying that, oh, this DEI hire, it's his fault. It's his fault from blocking elite rescue teams to travel there. Now, the Austin Firefighters Association accuses the fire chief of, yes, blocking elite rescue teams in what they call an egregious dereliction of duty. The chief says that's some BS. So here is poor little small brain racist Charlie Kirk with his trash.
We are in a state of national mourning, as we should be. And the Democrats, they're so despicable. The Democrats are not lifting a finger to remember the well over 100 people that have died in Texas Hill Country. What you are not being told by the media anywhere is that the death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI. This Texas tragedy is just the latest example. It's not just incompetence. This is DEI working to undermine meritocratic institutions, and more people likely died than otherwise would have because of DEI. Let me prove it to you. In 2014, the Obama administration sued the Austin Fire Department, about 11 years ago, fire union, for supposed racial discrimination, resulting in a settlement. So the Obama administration was so worried that the fire department in Austin, Texas was racist, because, you know, when you're putting out fires, you got to make sure that you have a diverse fighting force. All jokes aside, well, the pressure was on the city to prove its diversity credentials. So a few years later, they picked Joel Baker as their first black fire chief. He announced right away that promoting diversity is one of his top priorities. They brought him in from Atlanta, and his priority was not putting out fires or being prepared for floods. No, his priority was to make sure that the fire department was blacker. Play cut 347.
This two-time fire chief wants to make a difference in the growing city of Austin and tells us he wants to start by bringing in more diversity.
It's important that the Austin Fire Department, as much as we can, reflect the community which we serve.
But when you hire people based on race, you're not hiring based on skill. So right now, Baker is facing a vote of no confidence.
So let's go right there. See, this is the game that racist, ignorant white people like Charlie Kirk, this is the game that they play. They love to go, oh, no, it's racist and how he was hired. And it was, this is just wrong, and it's unfair. Look at this, unqualified. Really, that's interesting. Because you heard the reporter there say, two-time fire chief. Here, we go to my iPad. So you pull up, this is just the AI overview. Let's see here. Served more than 30 years as a firefighter in the Atlanta area, including the fire chief with the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department. Began with East Point Fire Department in 1986, has held various positions, including lieutenant, field operations and training academy, captain, hazardous material technical rescue unit, deputy fire chief, airport operations, assistant fire chief, office of support services. Spent time in the Marines, also 10 years in the Navy Reserve. Really? See, they love to ignore your resume. You got it because you're black. No, it's called you got skills. But see, when you're ignorant like Charlie Kirk, when you drop out of college, and then you have a white conservative benefactor who funds your group called Turning Point USA, and you get to run around as one of Trump's bros, talking about masculinity, and you're talking to your other little racist minions, because Turning Point USA has had serious problems with racists in their organization. But see, he gives cover by saying, oh no, but I was buddy-buddy with Candace Owens. We used to employ her. See, they love to attack. See, if you are the fire chief in Los Angeles who's a lesbian, oh, you're DEI. If you're the black fire chief in Austin, you're DEI. So what do y'all call unqualified white people, especially white men? They never seem to use the phrase DEI hire. Because see, you have to understand, in the world of the racists like Charlie Kirk, you are not qualified to hold any job unless you're a white man. See, that's how they think. Oh, if you are a white man, ooh, you can do anything. You can hold any job. You can, oh, hey, white is right in their world. Now, see, that's real interesting because if you actually look at the coverage, the warning systems in Kirk County were not firing. The folks laid off the National Weather Service. I mean, it's like thing upon thing upon thing upon thing that impacted what happened in that county. But by the way, they've had flooding there for years, and the problem was never fixed. We now know that county leaders there, Republican, such as the sheriff, such as the county commissioners, turned down federal money that could have created a new system that could have saved lives. But you see, it's easy to blame the black people. Oh, it's easy. Let's just blame the black man. It's his fault. It's his fault. By the way, y'all, Austin is 120 miles from Kirk County. It's not the Austin police, the fire chief's job to respond to flooding 120 miles away. He actually gets paid by the taxpayers of Austin, Texas. See, so what you should be asking is, and we knew Charlie Kirk is too dumb to do this, you should be asking is, wait a minute, why didn't Kirk County, which has a history of flooding along this river, why did not they have a system in place to deal with this? Because there were warnings. Folks were told. And you know, I'm a frequent critic of Cleveland pastor Darrell Scott. He is he's a Trump MAGA-loving individual, and I've ripped him on numerous times. But what's interesting is if you look at his feed, I mean, he's been holding Charlie Kirk to task. This guy, Corey Walker, tweeted, "Are we just blaming every disaster on the presence of hypothetical black people?" Darrell Scott retweeted that. So then when you go back here, Carmine Sabia, if you're blaming President Donald Trump for the Texas floods and the death toll, you're a simpleton. Well, if you're blaming DEI for the Texas floods and the death toll, you're a simpleton. Both groups are also horrific human beings using a tragedy for personal gain. Well, actually, Carmine, you can hold accountable when you have cuts to the National Weather Service and the warning systems not operating properly. So then you have, you know, I don't care for, I'm not even going to quote her because she's an idiot. But let's see here. Boom. A person says Chief Baker was a fire chief for the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department prior to his current position So to say that he's qualified is ridiculous. Daryl Scott says if he was white, they wouldn't say anything. There you go. But I disagree with Daryl. If the chief was a white woman who also was a lesbian, DEI hire, because they just believe that white men control everything. This was interesting. Daryl Scott said 67 people died when a helicopter crashed into a plane over the Potomac. The first thing said was, we're going to investigate to see if DEI was involved. When it wasn't, race was never mentioned again. Neither was the word incompetence. I'm getting sick of this, only the right. Well, first of all, Daryl, I agree with you on that one, but you also skirted that one because it was Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and Sean Duffy, 3 white men who initially said it was DEI and helicopter crash, but you didn't call them out. Don't think I didn't see that. But he also said this here. Charlie Kirk ain't slick with his racist BS. He insinuates that every single black person in a position of authority is incompetent and only got the position because of affirmative action. Unless it's one of his lackeys, wait, he doesn't put them in any authority. Oops. Then, let's see here. He says, I got to find a black person to blame this on, even if he's 120 miles away. I would blame it on Governor Abbott, but he's not a Democrat. So, see, there we go. There we go. Scott responded to somebody that said, if the chief was white, race would have never been mentioned, and the blame would have been on him alone, not on all whites in an authority position. Then let's see here. Right there, he says, man, Charlie Kirk says some racist crap. I respond, and some suckers come on here saying I'm too focused on race. Hashtag Charlie's enablers. Oh, so I guess Elon Musk was a DEI hire too, huh? Let's see here. From now on, when a white woman like Marjorie Taylor Greene says or does something stupid or against Trump, I'm going to call him a DEI choice. Boom. Scott says race is never mentioned by the right in time of tragedy or calamity unless a black person is in a position of authority. As soon as there's a tragedy, the search is on to find out if a black person is involved so the right can scream DEI. Austin firefighters. The firefighters, the same ones who want to have a vote of no confidence in the chief, reject racist and hate speech rhetoric in all of its forms. We need the community support, so please help us stay on point. And then, of course, they go on to criticize the fire chief. But there was another one in here that Daryl Scott had on here that I thought was really interesting. Let me see if I can find it. Because he also called out, this was Daryl's initial one. This is a lie from the pit of hell. He wanted to blame the helicopter and plane crashes on DEI black people, but he couldn't. So he comes with this bullshit to deflect from his past Israel, Iran, and Epstein comments. And what's worse is this is what I want to show. And what's worse is all the black MAGAs that are scared to challenge this openly, don't DM me in private if you're scared to go public. See, so why am I saying this? I mean, I could very easily ignore the idiot Charlie Kirk. But you got to understand something. Donald Trump loves him some Charlie Kirk. And white people like Charlie Kirk are the ones who love to talk about merit, meritocracy, fairness, justice for all. Yet they never ever seem to bring up the race of white men when something happens bad. And see, people like Charlie Kirk, they actually speak for the party because the party employs them. The party uses them. The party champions them. These are the people who they love. See, Republicans love to say, you're a race baiter. Talk about race too much. But they always are fixated with DEI hire. I see the Kirks of the world and Ericksons, they love to call Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, stupid and dumb and all of this here. They literally couldn't even have an elementary legal conversation with her. Because see, for them, she was chosen because she's a black woman. Never mind, in American history, she's the 116th Supreme Court Justice. And let's see, who were the women before her? Sandra Day O'Connor, Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Amy Coney Barrett, Ketanji Brown Jackson. So 116 Supreme Court justices in a history where say only 6 women were qualified. Yeah, we know that's bullshit. Ketanji Brown Jackson said, even in essence, in her opening comments, at people like Constance Baker Motley. Oh, there were numerous black women who should have been on the Supreme Court before her. But then let's see, 116 Supreme Court justices, 3 black. Thurgood Marshall, Clarence Thomas, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Supreme Court justices, Latino. Sotomayor Sotomayor. So you mean to tell me 6 women, 3 blacks, 1 Latino, no Asian, and all the rest were white men. But they were all eminently qualified because they're white men. This is what the anti-DEI attitude is about. And let's understand something, y'all. It's not DEI. It's DEI today, before it was affirmative action, before it was multiculturalism, before it was quotas. The reality is this: white men like Charlie Kirk have never wanted us to be in the workplace, have never wanted us to hold jobs, have never wanted us to be hired, don't want us to be fire chief or police chief or mayor or deputy. They don't want to see us because in their minds, the only black people acceptable for any of these jobs are black lackeys like Scott Turner, HUD secretary, like, what's that boy name? Big Carson, previous HUD secretary. See, even if we're having a conversation right now about all people surrounding Trump, do y'all see any black White House aides? No, because they don't believe that black people have the intellect to be able to do these jobs. You need to understand, they don't want us near power. Because what they don't like is when we have power, we actually wield it. We believe in fairness and equity. And they don't, because in their minds, white men rule the world. Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show, Sirius XM Radio, joining us from D.C. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University, host of The Black Table right here on the Black Star Network. Let's just be real clear. Reese, we know who these white people are. When they throw out DEI hire, what they really want to say is the N-word. What they really want to say is that colored. We know this. And so, and at least on this one, I'm glad Pastor Darrell Scott, he was also ripping Kirk before when he was trashing MLK. But see, here's the real deal. These other little blackface MAGA people, and I call them the help, they're real quiet. Folk like the Hodge twins, they calling Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett the B word. They ain't saying nothing. You know what? And for the longest, I great respect for Joseph Pinion, who is a black Republican. He was there dancing. He was there at the Black History Month reception. But go to my iPad, Henry. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm looking, and my God, just quiet. I see him talking about David Patterson. He's talking about Hakeem Jeffries. But Joseph is real quiet on Twitter about the bigoted, racist Charlie Kirk. When I sit here, and who's that other little girl? What's that girl name? Sharice Lane? Oh, yeah, she the one who went to FAMU. Let me see here. Let me click post and replies. I need the Red Lobster CEO. Oh, here's a video of her dancing Summertime. Okay, let's see here. Let me just go to post, those replies. Let me see what I can find in post. I'm sure there's a Charlie Kirk. I'm sure, let's see here, Red Coach. Life got so much better for me when I started dating for money. Okay, gotcha. Let's see here. Let's see. I started my at-home Pilates kit on Monday. Okay, talk about Pilates. She retweeted a Patti LaBelle. Let's see here. Damn. Oh! She did address Charlie Kirk. Here's what she said. This has to stop. Like, seriously, I'm tired of people like him talking. Shut the hell up. That's it? That's
okay.
Wow, that's profound.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's see. Who are some of the other MAGA Negroes? Oh, how about that lawn jockey, Terrence K. Williams? He looks. Let's see here. I had a little full block, so let me unblock him. He the one, a little leprechaun. Let's see here.
I don't know any of these people, Roland. I do not know.
Here. I'm looking. Nothing. Oh, he mentions Al Sharpton and Jasmine Crockett, but no Charlie Kirk. Let's see him. Nothing. See why I call them the help? Nothing. Oh, there you go. He's mocking Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Nothing. Oh, here's abolish DEI. DEI is taking the country backwards. Wow. Nothing. Yep. Terrence K. Williams. He's a lawn jockey. I'm gonna show the last one. Let's see here. That David Harris. David Harris loved to sit here and talk a little trash, and he was sitting here. David Harris. Let's see here. They love this. They love this blackface. They love this one right here. And let's see here. Okay, scrolling. Nothing. Matter of fact, this might be a different one. So, Risha, go ahead and make your point. I'm going to go find this fool. I want to make sure it's the right one because it's amazing how they just quiet. But go ahead, Risha. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, fuck Charlie Kirk and everything he talk about. I know them people won't say I didn't know any of those people, to be clear. I wouldn't be able to pick them out of a lineup. But you know what? White people, this is not going to bring your folks back. This is not going to protect you. What's going to protect you is holding your white elected officials accountable. Greg Abbott has gotten reelected time and time again, despite multiple botched state responses, despite inaction with the horrific Uvalde shooting, many mass shootings that have occurred in Texas, and a less than robust response here with these floodings. The city of Carville has a city council, all white people, that have repeatedly turned down measures that can actually address this. The the Upper Guadalupe River Authority has a board of entirely white people that turned down a project that would have mitigated some of this. The residents complained about the noise of a warning system, and so they turned it down. There's an article that goes through over a decade of attempts to address this that were rejected by their residents. I'm not blaming them, but I'm saying that your choices, your elections have the consequences. And unfortunately, they're paying the price, these kids.
In a place where it's flooded for decades. Oh, come back to my iPad here before I go to Greg, because my next guest is waiting. Oh, this is real quick. David J. Harris. Oh, that Negro who was taking a lot of videos of Black History Month reception. Let's see here. Nothing. Oh, he's commenting on the video of Vince calling out one of these. Oh, nothing. Just so y'all know, here he is. Nothing. That's right. Another member of the help. Greg, go ahead.
I mean, you laying it out, Roland. Reese just walked through adding to your analysis of reality. And, you know, Charlie Kirk reminds me, and this will age me and probably age all of us. Most people here won't remember the Dick Tracy comic book strip, the great Chester Gould, the artist. And he had what it was called the Rogues Gallery of Villains, Shoulders and Prune Face and Flat Top Jones and BB Eyes and Mumbles, all of them drawn to kind of characteristically kind of capture their physical appearance, match their nicknames. When I see Charlie Kirk, I think of a Rogues Gallery, Chester Gould, Dick Tracy villain, Littleface. So when Littleface ever talks, it's very clear that his physical appearance matches what his objective is. This is a country where the only DEI that exists in the last 5 centuries of human history is whiteness. You don't have to be qualified. You don't have to do anything except claim the whiteness. And at the bottom of that whiteness is those who, if you strip their whiteness away from them, would probably be consumed by insecurity, doubt, and fear. And when you see Littleface, you can see the smallness of spirit, the smallness of intellect, the smallness of character. And so he has no choice but to do that. That's why he is so effective, because whether it be the rogues gallery of cabinet appointees, whether it be Littleface and his crew, or whether it be these American Negroes who clearly don't have anything else going for them except fealty to power, what you see when you collect them all, they have one thing in common. They are scared, they are fearful, and they're deeply insecure. It would be easy and human to feel sorry for them, and we should. But when it comes to the exercise of power, we're at a point now where the United States of America is on the edge of an existential crisis that will probably change it forever. We have to seize control and use our power to do what we can to make sure that our people and everyone who believes in our common humanity will be okay. And what you're doing today is just reminding us that we should never listen to Littleface or any of those folk for anything other than the politics of fear.
Nope. So I just wanted just to take that time, just so y'all understand that there are black MAGA people who I call the help, who make racists like Charlie Kirk very comfortable through their absolute silence. Quick break, we come back. What the hell is going on in the Washington Post? Longtime black journalist, founder of the National Association of Black Journalists, says, enough, I'm out, for spiking another one of his columns. Damn, do I need to go get some chapstick? Because the ass kissing of Trump is stunning over there. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
The mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
This is your boy, Earthquake.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Boy, the Washington Post used to be a significant paper. In fact, considered one of the top two in America next to the New York Times. And even in the first Trump administration, I mean, they had a critical slogan. They talked about how they were going to hold him to task, doing what journalists do. All of a sudden, he runs a second time. And when your owner is Jeff Bezos and Trump is threatening to charge you more for packages, you're like, I don't know. All my money is tied up at Amazon. But it's also interesting because in the last couple of days, he sold like $700 million in Amazon stock. That's neither here nor there. But the problem that I'm now speaking of is what happens when they made this decision, brought in a new CEO, bunch of people quit. Number of editors, other people say, yo, I'm out of here. Other columnists, because they could not stand really how they were kowtowing to Donald Trump. Within this news, Joe Davidson, longtime staffer of the Washington Post, one of the founders, 44 founders of the National Association of Black Journalists, he quits. He has a column that gets spiked, and it's like they changed the rules from what they used to. And Joe was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm out. Joe Davidson joins us right now. Joe, glad to have you on the show. Thank you very much. What the hell
happened? Thank you, Roland.
What the hell happened?
Well, I had a column that was critical of Trump. I talked about how he attacks thought, beliefs, and speech. I gave a number of examples. DEI is one example because his executive order on DEI said there should be no references to diversity, equity, and inclusion in federal agencies. So that's an attack on speech. But it goes much beyond that because the order also said that organizations and companies that get federal money, including universities, corporations, community groups, they also cannot participate in DEI. So it was a very wide, a very broad order. But the reason I use that as an example is because it essentially says you cannot even refer to DEI in these federal related programs. And so this column was spiked, as we say in the business, or it was held or killed is another way to put it. because of a policy that apparently was first, it wasn't ever really announced, but it was put partially in effect late last year, early this year, when two other columnists who were news side as opposed to editorial or opinion columnists were moved from the news section to the opinion section. I didn't even know about that at the time. And so when my column was spiked because of this policy, I said, what policy? And then I said, well, let me see the policy. And it was not written. There was nothing to see. And so this column was held, which was was really, that was like a clear red light for me. Nonetheless, I thought I'd hang in there a bit more, because actually at the time there were a lot of other things going on in my life that required my attention. And I wrote another column that was, I didn't think was at all controversial. And by the way, I thought the column that was spiked, it was such a surprise because I had written columns in the past that were at least as opinionated as that one, if not more so. And so when, you might recall that Congressman Jerry Connolly of Northern Virginia died, and he was a strong proponent of federal employees. And my column covers federal employees, federal workplace, federal agencies, and other issues. And so when I wrote a piece about Jerry Connolly, who at that point was alive, but he announced he was not going to run again because of his cancer illness, I mentioned that he was someone who had repeatedly proposed a pay raise for federal employees. And I described the potential pay raise as well-deserved. And they took well-deserved out, which is really pretty mild, Meanwhile, there were some other writers at the paper, and this point gets to the inconsistent way in which this policy was implemented, in addition to not being announced. They actually used harsher language, much harsher language, I thought, against Trump, or to describe Trump. And so there was this inconsistency between the kind of language that was taken out of my column and the language that others were allowed to use. And it just got to the point where I couldn't function that way as a columnist, because a column is meant to have a point of view, commentary, and opinion.
A column is subjective. It's not objective. A news story, it's about fairness, it's about balance, not necessarily this BS about both sides, but it's reporting. A column, it's subjective. It's there to have a point of view.
And my column was heavily reported. And so my opinions were always backed up by specific examples, such as the DEI example I just gave. But it was never as opinionated as an opinion side column, like an op-ed column, because the news side columns do have, as a columnist, I had more leeway than your average reporter.
Right.
But I wasn't trying to be an opinion column on the op-ed page.
Got it.
Which sometimes just loads and loads of opinion with perhaps not as much reporting in some cases. And so this was a big surprise to me. And and when I realized something as mild as saying federal employees deserve a raise was too opinionated, then clearly it was time to go, and I'm gone.
So a memo went out yesterday where the Washington Post CEO, this is the FoxNews.com headline, Washington Post CEO urges staffers who don't feel aligned with paper's new direction to take buyout. Our chosen path is not for everyone, Post boss Will Lewis tells employees. So is that what you did?
Well, I didn't take a buyout. I just quit. I mean, I wasn't actually eligible for a buyout because I was actually on contract for the last 5 years. 5 years ago, I officially retired, got my retirement pension and all of that. But I stayed on writing the column as a contractor. And so for the last 5 years, I was a contractor, which meant I was not eligible for the buyout.
Got it.
But I think that, that piece you just referenced, which I haven't seen yet, so I can't speak to it authoritatively.
So in this memo, apparently, hold on one second, he said the Post was trying to reinvent, they're on a reinvention journey, they're reimagining. The moment demands that we continue to rethink all aspects of our organization and business to maximize our impact. If we want to reconnect with our audience and continue to defend democracy, more changes at the Post will be necessary. And to succeed, we need to be united as a team with a strong belief and passion in where we are heading. I understand and respect, however, that our chosen path is not for everyone. That's exactly why we introduced the voluntary separation program. As we continue in this new direction, I want to ask those who do not feel aligned with the company's plan to reflect on that. The VSP is designed to support you in making this decision, give you the ability to weigh your options thoughtfully and with less concern about financial consequences. And if you think that it's time to move on to a new chapter, the VSP helps you take that next step with more security. Regardless of what you decide, I want to thank all of you for everything you have done for this organization. If you choose to move away from the Post, thank you for all your contributions, and I truly wish you the best of luck. If you believe in our next chapter, I'm excited for the work ahead of us. That's his memo.
Yeah, and I imagine more people will leave. A number of people have already left. After the Post blocked an endorsement of Kamala Harris for president in November, it seemed to, it really opened the spigot, and a number of fine journalists left the Post, unfortunately. And in some ways, it's very sad. It's because the Post has done and really continues to do good work. But I think this whole situation has really undermined the credibility and integrity of a fine news organization. And I will say, despite the fact that many fine journalists there continue to do good work, it nonetheless has really hurt, I think, the reputation of the paper. And that's why you see so many people leaving the employment of the Washington Post. You see many people abandoning their subscriptions. And there's no doubt that morale has plummeted.
Joe, for people who don't understand, the crisis that we are in goes beyond the Washington Post. We are seeing Donald Trump and MAGA have a wholesale assault on the First Amendment, on the press. You see the extortion he is engaged in. He extorted $16 million out of Paramount and using his FCC chair, Brendan Carr, saying, hell, hey, you want this $8 billion merger approved? Y'all better sell that Trump lawsuit. And they said, hey, to get $8 billion, it'll cost us $16 million. Yeah, we're good. He extorted the money out of ABC News to settle the lawsuit. He extorted, was another settlement he did. I mean, so he's sitting here doing all these actions, and he's extorting these law firms to cut deals as well because he's exacting revenge on enemies. And so what he wants to completely destroy the media, render them useless, scare them to death, make folk impotent to be able to say or do anything. And when that happens, the people lose.
Well, I think that there's been a lot of dissatisfaction among journalists because of the kinds of things that have happened at ABC and CBS, for example. A number of journalists, those organizations, have spoken out. And of course, there have also been attacks on individual journalists. We certainly saw that even in the first term. Nisal Sindor, for example, among others, have been attacked personally. And I think that that's the kind of thing that is very worrying for a journalist, and should be very worrying for anybody who really believes in democracy. Because a free press and a vigorous press is absolutely necessary to hold these politicians accountable. Not just Trump, not just MAGA Republicans, but Democrats and everybody else. You need a vigorous press who is going to go after them when things are not operating properly. If there's disasters, for example, as you've discussed on this program, that have not been properly responded to by the authorities, you need a vigorous press to look into those kinds of things, no matter who is in power. And to see folks journalists and journalistic organizations kind of backing away from that is very troublesome for our democracy.
You work at an institution that broke the Watergate story, that aligned with the New York Times or the Pentagon Papers. Right. I would dare say in American history, the only other person who occupied the White Office that routinely despised and attacked the news media was Richard Nixon. But the thug-in-chief sitting in that seat right now, and that's what I call the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon, con man in chief, Donald Trump. This is different. In our time, we have never, ever seen someone who sits in that position viciously and in a nasty, despicable way attack the news media in a relentless way every single day, calling everything fake news when he is busted with the truth, telling folks that's a stupid question. I don't know why you didn't ask that question. It is a constant assault. We've never witnessed this from a occupant of the White House, I dare say ever.
Well, I certainly can't recall another president who has done this so systematically. I was actually in the Oval Office when Donald Trump met with Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, and he repeatedly called a NBC reporter who was trying to ask legitimate questions.
That was Peter Alexander.
And yeah, he goes after individuals, name calling, and now it's, of course, that there was a lot of that in the first term as well, but now it's escalated to the kinds of the kinds of tactics we've seen with ABC and CBS. So yes, it's a clear escalation on his part in terms of attacks on journalism.
Questions from my panel. Greg, call you first. Greg, you're on mute.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, Roman, and thank you, Brother Davidson, for your years of work and for this decision. I'm curious. We see lately the venture capital-backed platform Substack has moved from just having blogs, you can send out emails, to video and social media and replicating Twitter and TikTok and these kind of things. We saw Jim Acosta go over there. After Joy Reid left MSNBC, she's built a following there. As you move forward, I expect we'll continue to read your voice. Have you considered going into a space like Substack, and does that speak to perhaps the future of print journalism and newspaper journalism in an age when it seems like newspapers may even be dying as the delivery system for that kind of running real-time commentary? Thank you in advance.
Well, thank you. A number of people have suggested that I check out Substack, and I think I will do that. I can't say that that's for me yet, but I might well. I will look into it. Whether or not I'll land there, so to speak, I don't know. But the journalism landscape is changing rapidly, and it has been since the late '90s when the internet became much more popular. Now everything is digital first, and newspapers, as a paper, subscriptions are dropping, like a brick in a lake, and it's and so this is really a changing time for journalism. And where things will shake out, I think, is still too early to tell, because every time you look around, there seems to be some kind of new platform.
Mm-hmm.
Kristi.
Thank you for your work and for being here. I'm curious, how much do you think the changes at the Washington Post are about deconstructing journalism as opposed to shifting it in one particular ideological direction?
Well, when you say deconstructing journalism, what do you mean by that?
I mean, in the sense of undermining the institution, undermining the fourth estate and the role of the press in, being that mover of arbiter of the truth.
Well, I think Leslie Stahl, who was with 60 Minutes, excuse me, on CBS, she said something interesting during an interview in which, in fact, she talked about how CBS appears to be caving to Trump. She said that she asked Trump one time about why do you basically criticize the news media so much? Why do you dump on journalists so much? And he said something to the effect, that's because when you attack me and I criticize you, the people will be on my side and believe me. That's a paraphrase, not a direct quotation. So I think that I think these tactics by the president are not just like a quick quip. They aren't just. It's not that he just gets a joy out of beating up on journalists. I think there's a method to that madness, and that is to to get the American people, certainly those about half of the population almost that are solidly behind him, seemingly, to believe him instead of what they read in the newspapers, read online, and with reputable sites, and see on television. I mean, and so I think this notion of undermining the credibility of the news media, I think that's a conscious strategy. And frankly, the news media has long been kind of poorly regarded, unfortunately. But this is a situation where I think it's designed to make that reputation sink even further. And unfortunately, I think the actions of Jeff Bezos at the Washington Post have specifically hurt the credibility of the Washington Post, and that's a very sad situation. And it's not just clearly not my thoughts. You can look at the thousands of people who no longer subscribe, the dozens of people who've quit. No, it's not. That's not a good situation for journalism, and therefore it's not a good situation for the American public and democracy.
See, the thing, first of all, that is what he said to Leslie Stahl, and the whole deal was, and we see it playing out. They will believe me and screw all of you. So that's where fake news came from. That's where alternative facts came from as well. And here's, I think, the fundamental problem, Joe, and that is the news media has responded in the same way, I believe, as Democrats. And of course, the right, we're like, well, they're the same, which is BS. That is, they have been wholly unprepared to deal with somebody where there's no bottom, where someone who has no respect, who lies about lies, and they are, too many of our colleagues, they are collegial with these folks. In this city, they frankly associate with them. They pal around with them. What I mean by that is the dinner parties and things along those lines. And frankly, they want to be just so collegial. When somebody is constantly lying to you and saying hateful, shameful things, I can't be friends with you. I can't treat you with respect if that's how you're going to behave. And so Trump comes in, and the truth, Joe, is that he is a byproduct of the same media. There is no Donald Trump without the New York City gossip pages boosting him, paparazzi showing him. There is no Donald Trump if MSNBC and CNN is not calling him in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, doing interviews with him riding on his plane, gauging his opinion, having him on. I have told this story, and I don't care about naming names. I was on CNN, and if any of my former CNN, anybody at CNN is there, please go into the archives if y'all can and download when I was on with Heidi Phillips. Obama was president. And I said this, Joe. I said on the air, the next time Donald Trump comes on CNN, we should run a crawl at the bottom and say, this is for entertainment purposes only. I got an email from Ken Jouts, the executive vice president of CNN, and me and Ken got along. He was on the senior leadership team of CNN, and he told me, do not criticize Donald Trump when he's coming on our air. And that night, Obama was giving some big speech, and Piers Morgan had Trump on, and Trump was bullshitting, saying lies, and I had to tweet. Another time, he was coming on the Situation Room with Whoop Blitzer. I look at his booker, Stephanie Katubi. I said, why the hell y'all keep putting his ass on? There are other real CEOs. Every time he comes on, we get great ratings. I said, but he's full of shit. It was about the ratings. And so the media, then you go to The Apprentice with the show, created this successful billionaire. No, he wasn't. So he is a media creation, and the very people that created him are now being consumed by him, and they don't know how to properly respond because we've been taught to be collegial and show deference.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's true that Donald Trump is good for ratings. It's also good, for circulation and subscribers for print and digital publications. I mean, the Post got a big boost from subscribers when he was in office. I don't know about this time, probably so again. But in the first term, that didn't affect the editorial stance of the Washington Post. It didn't bring about the kinds of restrictive guidelines that editorial writers and op-ed writers now face, and it didn't bring about this relatively new rule of no opinion, no commentary, news side columns. But it is happening this time, and it might be happening this time because Donald Trump came back with a roar. I mean, last time everybody knew he didn't really win the presidency in terms of the popular vote, but he did this time. And he's riding that for all that it's worth and more. And I think we're going to be in for more of this behavior going forward.
Well, I'll say this here, Joe. I remember the first time around. The media wouldn't even say the word lie. And then they had this, well, you know, in order for us to use the word lie, the definition of lie means we have to know the person has an intent to misstate the truth. We're like, what the fuck? He lies. Like, the New York Times wouldn't even use the word. I don't know what Dean Baquette was doing. But again, it was this, no, we don't use, he stretches the truth. I mean, it was like they were creating ways, trying to find ways to say lie without saying lie. And this unwillingness to challenge the issue. And people go, well, you're being partisan. And this is very simple. Truth is not partisan. It's truth. And I just believe the only way we have to respond is if you lie, we're going to call the lie out. That's not opinionated. That's not partisan. It's factual.
You know, on that point, I will say that one of the things about in the Post style book now deals with this question of when you can use the term lie, and specifically on Donald Trump. Writers at the Post nowadays have carte blanche to say that this notion that Donald Trump won the previous election, as he continually says, that's a lie. And reporters and writers at the Post have carte blanche now to call that a lie. That doesn't apply to all of his statements, however. But it raises an important point, and that is, if you tell a lie often enough, a lot of people are going to believe it.
Yep.
And that's part of Donald Trump's plan. And the prime example of that is, did he win that previous presidential election? He always says he did, and the fact is he did not. And to say that he did, that's a lie. And that's one area where, at least at the Post, there's no hesitation about pointing that out. That, however, doesn't necessarily apply to many other statements in terms of the way the Post and other news organizations approach describing his statements.
Well, I'll say this here. I believe that as long as we are dealing with a news media, corporate media, that is scared to death of offending him because, one, they might own radio stations, that's FCC. They may own TV stations, that's FCC. When you have the owners who have other economic interests, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Postal Service, packages, that they're going to say, you know what? Who gives a shit about the news side? I don't care about these reporters. That means nothing. When you used to have publishers, the Sulzbergers, Times, Katharine Graham, the Post, the Bingham family, Louisville, Kentucky, the Chandler family, Los Angeles, you had people who said, no, we understand what the public trust is, what the news media is, and we will not bend to power. These folks, not only are they bending, they're essentially liquid when it comes to power.
You know, That's a sad situation. It's a sad situation for democracy. It's a sad situation for journalism. Sad situation for America. The kind of owners that you described are needed now more than ever, and there's not enough of them still in this business.
Indeed, indeed. While I have you, Joe, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the founding of the National Association of Black Journalists. Convention is coming up in Cleveland. The organization chose not to invite Trump. He was invited last year. I had some issues with that. First of all, allowing Harris Faulkner to be on the panel after Fox paid a $787 million settlement. Two, she wasn't even a member, so she never should have had her ass on that stage. No black men, no black male journalists on that stage as well. And then also him lying out the gate as to why they were late and then not correcting him there as well. What do you as a founder, what do you say, and yes, I'm running for NABJ office, but what do you say to young journalists today, what they need to be thinking and doing to ensure that there's a strong National Association of Black Journalists for the next 50 years?
Well, first, let me say I really appreciate your devotion to NABJ because you were always there. So we appreciate that. I think that young journalists coming into our business, one, they need to know the craft. They need to get their skills down so that nobody can sidestep them and give them the side eye when it comes to the level of excellence. And I think they also need to come with a consciousness, know your history, know our community's history, know the true story behind things like DEI and white privilege, know economics, come well prepared and join organizations like NABJ because together, and when we're organized, we have power and there are things that we can do that we cannot do individually. So I would encourage them to come well prepared, come to NABJ and get mentors. There are people there who just love to be mentors. There's student projects, which you, Roland, I believe, were part of when you were one of the student representatives on the board of NABJ.
It actually got denied 5 times, and when I joined the board, I actually got them to approve the funding. So yeah, I was kind of involved with that.
Yes, right. And it's important to also come, I think, with a certain sense of political awareness. I'm not saying you have to have a certain political ideology, but I think you have to come with a certain level of political awareness because that helps you navigate the situations in the real world as well as navigating situations in the newsroom that are not always comfortable for Black people. So you have to come with having the skills and having the political awareness and to know how to navigate some of these sometimes very difficult situations.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I will be in Cleveland. I think there's only probably like 2 conventions I've missed since 1989, 2 or 3, because I was actually doing work. But absolutely, it is needed more than ever. And Greg might remember, and I need to find the video, but it was Stokely Kwame Ture, who said, "You cannot show me an African American who has ever achieved anything from our people by doing it as an individual. It was only done through organization." And so the point that you made is critically important.
Yeah, we used to always say, organize, organize, organize.
Absolutely. Joe Davidson, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk about how the Republicans in Texas, in the middle of a decade, want to redraw congressional districts. Why? Because they want more white Republicans. And who are they targeting in Texas? 3 African Americans and 1 Latino. We keep telling y'all they don't like Black and brown people. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible to do what we do. Y'all, we ain't got Jeff Bezos cutting us checks. We don't have millionaires and billionaires. We still knocking on the doors of these advertisers. So when you support this show, and I'm telling y'all for real, in the 6.5, we'll be 7 years old, September 4th of this year. In the 7 years we've had this show, our fan base has contributed in excess of $4 million. That is how we are still here. And so when you support, when you give 50 bucks or even more, you give less, doesn't matter. All of that contributes to being able to pay staff, to pay rent, to pay for us to travel, to cover stuff. I got people right now, I got 6 requests. I was talking to Gary Chambers. We're talking about doing a mayoral town hall or debate there in New Orleans because of the election. It's gonna be in October. You've got the special election in Houston, the congressional district, the 18th congressional district, to replace Congressman Sylvester Turner, who passed away, who followed Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who followed. Folks want us to do all sorts of different things, but y'all, it takes money to do so. We do not charge a subscription. I don't have a Patreon account where I'm requiring you to give us money, and then we have it on Patreon for 3 or 4 days, and you see it first, and then we put it out here. We purposely, with this show, said we wanted to be as widely available. That's why we're in the top 100 of YouTube podcasts, but also, this is why we're able to have our content on multiple platforms. And so, you want to contribute via Cash App, you see right here the QR code. This is it right here. Use a Stripe QR code. Check and money order. Yep, we take those. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together?
You know, the last thing you want is, in the midst of trying to piece your life back together, for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud of the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, Donald Trump hates Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. When I say hates, he can't stand her. So he called Texas Governor Greg Abbott and said, hey, I need y'all to redraw these congressional lines to get that black woman, you know, ain't what he said, out of Congress. And so Texas Governor Greg Abbott has now called a special session of the legislature. There are 18 points, but the main point is for them to redraw the congressional lines. And who are they targeting? 4 Democrats. They're targeting Congressman Al Green, Congressman Mark Vesey, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. Now, the issue, though, is understand, congressional lines typically are redrawn every decade. The census in 2020, lines are redrawn in 2021, and typically those hold for the decade. But Republicans only have a 4 or 5 seat majority in the United States House. They are scared to death they're going to lose the House next year because of their awful policies. So they want to shore up support by picking off the seats there. Now let me unpack why this is important. When Bishop William Barber and Moral Mondays, first of all, let me go back before that. 2008, then Senator Barack Obama wins North Carolina in 2008 running for president. He won by 14,100 votes, okay? Then there was a significant black turnout in North Carolina. Then in 2010, they started moving voter suppression laws. Then they were able to take control of the North Carolina Supreme Court. They outlawed racial gerrymandering and political gerrymandering. So North Carolina went from 10 Republicans, 3 Democrats, to 7 Republicans, 7 Democrats. Wisconsin, same thing. Lawsuit took place. Supreme Court said, we don't have any control over political gerrymandering. That is how lines are drawn, meaning the state legislature, they hold the power to redraw lines. What happened in Wisconsin? Republicans control the Supreme Court. What then happened was the folks in Wisconsin were like, nah. So Democrats now have a 4-3 majority of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. What then happened? They successfully overruled the state, had to redraw state lines because the Republicans, they basically drew the lines to guarantee they will always have power. That's how you have these supermajorities in Florida, in Texas, and other places. In Michigan, they had a commission that said, oh, you got to create a commission, a ballot initiative to create a commission to redraw lines to make them fair. In Ohio, same thing happened. But the Republicans said, screw the commission, they overlooked them. So what the Republicans have done, so you understand, why do the Republicans have so much power on the state level, the congressional level? Because of political gerrymandering. By whoever controls the legislature, the House, the Senate, governor's mansion, puts you in control of the process. So when Republicans have a supermajority, which means they can pass whatever they want, don't even have to talk to the Democrats, that's how you get political gerrymandering. So they're sitting here going, damn, we might get our asses kicked next year. So we can pick up 4 in Texas. Then we can pick up a few over here. Yo, if we lose 5, 6 seats, we still hold the majority. Now, Democrats do political gerrymandering, but they're nicer about it, okay? Democrats are too much about fair. You got political gerrymandering in Maryland, okay? But Democrats are not as hardcore with political gerrymandering as Republicans. To me, that's stupid. California Governor Gavin Newsom, he has been saying, he's already on record as saying, all right, Texas Democrats, you punk asses gerrymander these districts, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to gerrymander in California. Here's my whole deal, Gavin Newsom. To hell with Texas. Do that shit anyway. That to me is dumb. This is about power, y'all. This ain't about fairness. And when the Supreme Court has already said, yo, we ain't got no jurisdiction or political gerrymandering, then you exercise power. I don't understand it. So, but here's the problem in Texas. Go to my iPad, Henry. This is a post in the Texas Tribune. In the Texas Tribune, which is a nonprofit site in Texas, you got someone is quoted as saying, we went down this road before and it didn't go well. In this article, they lay out that the Republicans did this in 2010. The problem is things begin to change in 2018. You see right here, 2018 was a midterm election. The political climate changed. A lot of Dems turned out. And so you had these so-called red districts, and Dems turned out, and Republicans lost statewide seats. They lost 2 congressional seats. And you see what Michael Lee, a redistricting expert at the Brennan Center, said, what looked like a silent gerrymander by the end of the decade had become almost a dummy bander. The lesson for 2010 is that you can stretch yourself too thin, that you can be too smart for your own good. And when the politics change, you get bitten in the you-know-where. So already there are some Republicans in Texas who are saying, hold up now, dog. I don't know about this here, because if all of a sudden we start changing lines, let me explain how that works. If we start changing lines to get rid of these 3 black Democrats and Latino, that means them black people and Latinos, they vote in our district. We might lose. Now, Sylvia Garcia represents the district where I grew up. I grew up in Clinton Park in Houston. That used to be a Republican district. Jack Fields, no, it's now Democrat, okay? 18th Congressional District in Houston, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee in the position. That's the seat that actually was Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee, Sylvester Turner, and the election is going to be in the fall. Now, here's the issue Republicans face. Section 2 Voting Rights Act. Now, we know this is a hardcore Republican Supreme Court, but we do have the 2 cases out of Alabama and Louisiana. It does not bode well for for Republicans. If they target these 4, guaranteed lawsuit, because the lawsuit is going to say you are denying black and Latinos representation. Supreme Court ruled against Republicans in Alabama, and they had to create what is called an opportunity district. It was not a majority black district, but it was about 45 to 47% black. That's how Congressman Shamari Figures was elected. In Louisiana, blacks make up 1/3 of the state. What happened there? Well, they had to create a new seat. Republicans fought it. They lost. They had to take a seat, take it from a white Republican. That's how Cleo Fields is back in Congress. Now, to understand the numbers, y'all, I need you to realize this here. Minorities make up 61% of all people in Texas. Let me say it again. Black and brown people comprise 61% of the total population of Texas. What's the problem? 61% of the people who vote in Texas are white. Second, Texas has the largest number of eligible black voters of any state in America. That goes back, y'all, to slavery. And even after slavery, where black folks were moving there. So when you look at the population of Texas, the black population kept increasing. Now today, you see the numbers. So legally, what's going to happen? White Republicans do this, they're getting sued. And the argument is going to be, you are depriving African Americans in Houston, Dallas, their own representatives in Congress. These white Republicans think, oh, Supreme Court's on our side. Greg, the issue they're going to have is, and again, I have no trust in these 6 folks on the Supreme Court at all. We know Clarence Thomas don't like black people, can't stand the Voting Rights Act, but we do have in recent history, very recent, where this Supreme Court ruled against white Republicans on the grounds of race in the congressional seats in Alabama and Louisiana.
Yeah, Roland, it's exciting. I confess to being excited, because what we're really talking about is whether or not these white nationalists and the Negroes they own, like Clarence Thomas, are willing to destroy completely destroy the concept of rule of law in the United States. As you mentioned, the Wisconsin case, which I think was 2010, the Gill case, Gill versus Whitcomb, I think, where they were saying, yeah, partisan gerrymandering is not justiciable, even though in that case they dismissed it for lack of standing. And then we remember you reported this, you covered this extensively, South Carolina, where the NAACP sued. And they said, well, it's a political gerrymandering. Now, before the white nationalists really took over the federal bench, certainly the Supreme Court, the justiciability of political gerrymandering, and this was all through North Carolina, this is Shaw versus Reno, this is the Ashford case out of Georgia, it wasn't at all clear that political gerrymandering couldn't be seen as a proxy for race. But as they have made this more white nationalist, more right-wing, extreme right-wing, they've really obliterated that. But here's the problem, and you just laid out the problem beautifully, brother. There is no majority, and there's no minority. They're all minorities in Texas. African people, whether they speak Spanish or English, indigenous folk, and Mexican Americans are, and white people, all minorities in Texas. The demographic time bomb that is ticking in the United States of America is ticking loudest in Texas. There's only so many squiggly lines you can draw before you simply can't draw yourself into continued political domination. So what the courts have done, and you saw this in Alabama, as you say, with the good brother Shamari Figures, you saw it in Louisiana, where they don't have just one with Brother Cleo Fields, but two black congressional districts. And when they went to the court this summer, the court ruled a couple of weeks ago that the Louisiana versus Calais case, they rescheduled oral arguments for the next term, for the fall. That's important because the maps that are drawn in Louisiana will stay in place. And as you said, as soon as they try this damn punk-ass governor of Texas tries this with this special session, they're going to go to court, and this won't affect the upcoming election cycle. They're going to have to go through the courts. Well, the bottom line is this. Just like holding back the sea with your hands, you can't hold back the demographics. This is for the white nationalists who hate watch. You're finished. And no matter how many times you draw these squiggly lines, we're going to go to court, and what the courts have to decide is whether or not they are going to sacrifice the concept of rule of law on the altar of continuing white supremacy. If they do that, all bets are off. And at that point, yeah, the gloves are completely off. And even the timid people like the governor of California, now you just go for broke. And I'm not sure that the country can survive that.
Yeah, and to me, Reese, that's where California, New York State, where Democrats all have power, you exercise power. You say, y'all want to play that game? Because here's the deal. Republicans have done it in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee. In Tennessee, they despise the fact that Democrats, that Nashville and Memphis are Democratic cities. So they said, you know what? Nashville, we got your ass. They cut, there were two Democrats in Tennessee in the congressional district, Nashville and Memphis. They split Nashville into 4 congressional districts. So Nashville no longer has a member of Congress. It's split into 4 different districts that guaranteed a Republican winning. They took away one of those seats. And so folk have to understand that's how Republicans have played hardball. Democrats still going, oh, we are nice and fuzzy. No, I think we just believe in fairness and what's right and what's just. So we're just gonna be real nice about this. No, this is where you must be ruthless when you have the power.
Well, I sure as hell hope so. But when they gonna start doing that? Because Republicans operate under "who gonna check me, boo," and Democrats operate under "oh no, I don't want anybody to say anything, so let me just preemptively surrender or let me just water stuff down." And that's why people are very much disillusioned with the Democratic Party. Obviously, they are far superior in terms of their policy and their governance, but they just don't have that killer instinct that Republicans do. And unfortunately, Republicans only use their killer instinct to the detriment of the American people. Whereas the Democrats want to make American life better, but they're too fucking scared to do it. But here's the thing. Republicans are making sure that they can stay in power as long as they need to without actually having to earn the votes. They can cheat their way to it, but it's going to become increasingly difficult because if you look at the balance of the House right now, 1,700 votes before several Democrats died, unfortunately, but 1,700 votes gave the Republicans the House majority. That was it across 3 districts. There are 10 districts where the margin was under 1%. And so this is a very, very close race. If you even look at massive turnout, Republicans won the popular vote in 2024. They haven't done that in a while, but gerrymandering had helped them out. And so this is going to depend, in terms of 2026, is going to depend on if people wake the fuck up, if they finally hold Republicans accountable, and if they will finally wake up to the truth instead of all this disinformation that permeates and creates this alternative reality and make Republicans pay for what they've done. Republicans paid for that final push to repeal Obamacare when Donald Trump was president in 2018, and they got wiped out. We'll see if that happens again in 2026, but I'm still not seeing enough energy and enough attention from people at the shitstorm that is currently here, and it's going to get even worse.
You know, Greg, we spend an inordinate amount of time trying to get people watching our social media explaining why voting matters. And you got these simple Simons, and I ain't gonna give them no attention by saying their names, because they trash, they ain't worth shit. And they love talking shit, they love complaining, they love talking about what Democrats ain't done this, Democrats ain't done that, they ain't done this, done that. And they frankly are ops, and paid or not, and they're responsible for driving down the black vote. Here we go to my iPad. I need people to understand this here. Y'all look at the data right here. Based on data from 2022, Texas had the largest number of eligible black voters in the United States with 2.9 million people. In recent statewide elections, 2020 and 2022, black voters constituted about 12% of the total votes in Texas. Now, let me explain why that's actually misleading, or why those two go together. So you have the most eligible voters in Texas. But what I keep saying, Greg, is we're not maximizing our vote. No. I'm not interested in, oh, well, we were 12% of the vote. Yeah, but what was our number? Could we have been 15% of the vote, 18% of the vote, 20% of the vote, if we actually maximize our numbers? I'm always saying that the target goal I have is 70. I know people say, man, bro, come on, bro, that's real high. But I'm very serious. Because actually, we're over 3 million now. So let's just say 3 million. If our target goal is 70%, that means that of the 3 million voters, 2.1 million votes. That changes elections. And so if the Republicans try this game, we maximize our vote, we can wipe several of their asses out. Absolutely. So what I keep saying to black people, whether it's Texas, whether it's Louisiana, whether it's North Carolina and the Black Belt, whether it's South Carolina, and yes, whether it's Florida, you cannot bitch and moan about what we're not getting and who's not representing us if we're not showing up at the ballot box to make our presence known.
No, that's right. That's right, Roland. You know, because they are white supremacists. This isn't even about politics alone. This is the politics of white supremacy. And, you know, your home state has taught us the lessons in how we fight. These are the famous cases of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. In fact, Congressman Green, when he told everyone, this is right after he filed that second attempt to impeach this bozo down the street in public housing 2 blocks from where you are, he came to your studio a couple of weeks ago, and he said, they're after my seat. But if they get me, there'll be somebody else. It's important. And he evoked the Nixon versus Condon case, of course, there in Houston, the dentist there, who's memorialized at the African American Library at the old Gregory School. You know, Texas showed the country how to fight. I'm talking about black Texans when it looked most austere in the 30s and 40s with the white primaries. If we have to go back to that model, we have a model in what to do. It involves that voter participation, that voter organization and mobilization. It involves our institutions, the black church, the black professional associations, the sororities and fraternities. All that is a backdrop to what I want to say here. You've talked to Greg Palast on several occasions. We must never underestimate the importance of voter suppression. That's why you always encourage people to check your voter registration, check your voter registration. I'm not at all sure that the reason that we've got to deal with Trump again isn't primarily not just disinformation, but the fact that people, when they got ready to vote, found themselves not on the rolls. Voter suppression is real. If we vote anywhere near our numbers, as Gary Chambers always reminds us, we win. There are no red states in the South. There are under-organized and under-mobilized states, as he and Reverend Barber have said many times, including right here. Texas is not only up for grabs, Texas can be purged of white nationalist domination simply by people being vigilant. And finally, before anyone says it's not possible, we have the history to show us that not only is it possible, that is how we have gotten to this point. We can ignore the trolls, the ops, and others. You were in Louisiana. I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on Essence Fest, because now they're in a battle talking about it's the continental Africans' fault that the Essence is ruined. Listen, stop being stupid. Understand that when it comes to white nationalism, a Frenchman, an Englishman, somebody from Texas, Louisiana, New York City, anywhere else, they find a way to come together on the thing they agree on. Meanwhile, they work very hard to keep us at each other's throats. And yes, I'm talking about all you people too who are saying, what about ain't no black and brown coalition? You need to wake up and understand that white people can be at each other's throats. But when it comes time for the thing that they want to get done, they will hold their nose and link their arms like they're in a damn civil rights march. You and meanwhile looking for your hair is 3 inches shorter than mine. I'm against you. That's stupidity. And we have never advanced that way. Texas, I think, can shock us and surprise us and also confirm the fact that we know what to do if it will simply go into its memory bank of history and understand that we know how to do this. We've done it before.
Henry, go to my iPad. Racy, literally while we were talking, Bishop Barber just sent this to a group text that I'm on. Like when I say literally, I'm talking about as Greg was talking. So talk about right timing from the Lord. He said, we can't ignore the work in our own hood. Below is Pew study work. We have to have it vetted and checked in. If accurate, we must face it seriously and strategically. And GOTV work can't be limited to 30 days before election with people speaking. Our efforts must start in August this year. If MAGA and the Senate and the House and state legislatures are as bad as we all say, there are 60% of all black folks poor and low wage. 85 million people are poor and low income. In 2020, 58 million people in this group cast ballots, making up 34 to 46% of voters in 9 battleground states and more than 20% in all but 5 states. Black voters represented 13.2% of all eligible voters. We can't win alone. We have to build coalitions around an agenda. As of 2022, about half of black eligible voters live in one of 8 states. Texas is the largest number with 2.9 million, followed by Georgia and Florida, 2.6 million each. Rounding out the top 8 are New York, 2.4 million, California, 2 million, North Carolina, 1.8 million. And in my state, North Carolina, 990,000 black people didn't vote, and Trump won the state by 163,000 votes. Maryland and Illinois at 1.4 million each. Together, these states account for 52% of black eligible voters in the 50 states and District of Columbia. Even with a black sister on the ticket and a racist Trump on the ticket, here's the fact we must confront and figure out from bottom up, not just top down. In the 2024 presidential election, the turnout rate for black voters was 59.6%. According to USA Facts, it was a 3 percentage point decline in 2024 compared to 2020. This is part of a broader trend. Trump nearly doubled his support among black voters from between 2020 and 2024. 8% voted for him in 2020, 15% last year. 83% of black voters backed Harris. But, Reese, this is the key right here. This is the critical key. I keep telling y'all. Look at that last line. 41% of eligible black voters did not participate.
Well, we can make the difference. We have the capacity. We're not even talking about registering new voters. With the people that are already registered to vote, yes, there's voter suppression, but there are people with valid registrations that can't get their ass out and vote, no matter how much we beg and plead. Now, I think that the Democratic Party underinvests in black voters. They wait too long to swoop on in and say, hey, y'all, how y'all doing? What's that big head? But the fucking reality is, can we vote offensively ever? Do we always gotta wait until it's a pandemic and we dropping like flies? Or now that this big, beautiful bill is passed and millions of people are gonna be knocked off of SNAP and off of Medicaid and are gonna lose their homes because Section 8 benefits are going away, and then we're like, oh shit, we gotta get out and vote. Can we maintain some of the gains that we make? Because that was what was on the ballot, in addition to our citizenship. We have to start taking some accountability about the capacity that we have that we are not exercising, regardless of the capacity that we are exercising that they're trying to take away. We don't even exercise all this shit over here. And then we wonder why we live in Republican trifecta states, but then have the nerve to say, well, Democratic Party never done shit for me. When the last time you had a Democratic Party leader in your state? Where is the Republican governor, Republican leader of their legislature, Republican mayor? When's the last time you even had a Democrat in charge? So we have to start waking up. I see so much, and Dr. Carr, you talked about it, some of the diaspora wars. We don't need a coalition. They over there. Okay, well, shit, if we're going to be by ourselves, can we rise the fuck up in the positions that we have with the capacity that we have? Since we don't need nobody, we ain't got nothing for nobody else. We ain't even got shit for our own damn selves. That's part of the problem. So, yes, we do need to stop gerrymandering, stop voter suppression. We definitely need to stop disinformation, because that's doing a number on our asses very, very easily. The dissuasion campaign, all that is really, really killing it. Woo, child. Whoever made that investment is getting a massive return on their investment. But if we ever just exercise our capacity, Roland, I don't even think 70% should be that unachievable. Look at what white evangelicals vote at. Look at what other groups vote at. That's not even a massive number. Look at other countries where people vote 80 something, 90%. That shouldn't even be asking too much. So the bar is in hell, and we still can't even do that much. And then we look around and wonder why shit is fucked up. I would love for us to be able to say that the white folks is going to wake up one day, because I'm tired of being a black woman, 92% shouldering shit, 87% black men shouldering shit. But in the meantime, in between time, what are we going to do about it?
Absolutely. And so Bishop Barber's absolutely right. Which is why I have been saying, start now. In what I always say, educate, enlighten, inform. Educate, enlighten, inform. All right, y'all. I'm going to go to a quick break. We're going to stay in Texas because the party of family values. Interesting. Because the wife of the Texas Attorney General, ooh, she just dropped a bomb, a stink bomb. And what did I show y'all the two different reactions to them on Twitter regarding their divorce? Talk about two different realities. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, the enigma of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. What really makes him tick? And what forces shaped his view of the world, the country, and Black America? The answer, I'm pretty sure, will shock you.
And he says, people think that I'm anachronistic. I am. I want to go backwards in time in order to move us forward into the future. He's very upfront about this.
We'll talk to Corey Robin, the man who wrote the book that reveals it all. That's next on The Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
All right, now, y'all know I don't do gossip. I don't care what celebrity, who they marry and dating, having a baby. I don't care where they vacation, none of that sort of stuff. But when I saw this, I got to talk about hypocrisy, because the Republican Party loves talking about how they're the party of family values. They can't stand same-sex marriage. They can't stand children out of wedlock, can't stand abortion. And they love talking about, how they just love the Lord. They just love the Lord. They so pious. They just love the Lord. And then we got that moral degenerate who is the Attorney General in Texas, Ken Paxton. Now, this is the man who was under federal investigation, got indicted, should have got impeached, but the conservatives in the state bought off the votes. And then they targeted folks who voted against him. So Ken Paxton is married to State Senator Angela Paxton in Texas. Now, when he got impeached, it was an open secret about how he a hoe. See, we ain't talking about him cheating, he a hoe. So he's running for the United States Senate. Polls show incumbent Senator John Cornyn is down big time to Paxton. MAGA just love them some Ken Paxton. Just love him. So his wife, Senator Angela Paxton, dropped this tweet today. And if I want to show y'all two delusional people, or really one delusional person, and that's Ken Paxton. So here's Angela Paxton, Reese. Today, after 38 years of marriage, I filed for divorce on biblical grounds. I believe marriage is a sacred covenant, and I have earnestly pursued reconciliation, but in light of recent discoveries, I do not believe that it honors God or is loving to myself, my children, or kin to remain in the marriage. I move forward with complete confidence that God is always working everything together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. Reese, that's what Angela wrote, Reese. Angela wrote that, but Reese, Ken was a little different.
Uh-oh. Set it off.
Reese, this is the tweet of Ken. After facing the pressures of countless political attacks and public scrutiny, Angela and I have decided to start a new chapter in our lives. I could not be any more proud or grateful for the incredible family that God has blessed us with, and I remain committed to supporting our amazing children and grandchildren. I ask for your prayers and privacy at this time. Ken's statement a little different from Angela's recently.
Sure is. What's up with that? I mean, it sounds like he's trying to keep whatever he doing on the low over there. Okay, you know, look, less is more. That's what Ken Paxton is giving, who has never ever been shy about anything else. And the wife, she trying to throw a little shade. What is she holding? Are you holding out for a Fox News AON interview? What you holding out for, girl? Go ahead, you can spill the tea. I'm sure Charlie Kirk somewhere waiting for that interview. Go ahead, girl. Go make your rounds, because we need to hear what's going on. I mean, he has a whole rap sheet of what we know publicly, but what's going on? It kind of sounds like some sexual stuff. I'm just speculating.
No, Reese. Then
She was alluding.
remember, she was one of the folk who voted on his impeachment. I saw this tweet, Greg, and I just had to post it. Girl sat there unfazed 2 years ago listening to how Ken Paxton traded granite countertops, a secret cell phone, an Uber account for one of his mistresses. So those, quote, recent discoveries must be wild to make Angela Paxton finally kick that wonky-eyed philanderer to the curb.
Ooh.
My God. Wonky-eyed.
Look, why the wonky-eyed people in it? They like, look,
how about that? Look, I mean, we don't know. And we can only speculate. And first of all, let's just get the substantive, the only thing that really matters, out of the way. He is a Christian by definition of fascist religious extremist. This will not put any dent in his support from the other fascist white nationalist religious extremists in Texas. In fact, this might actually bolster him. After all, you got a whole ass convicted felon sitting in the White House who was propelled to the White House by saying, when you're a star, they let you do it. This is part of white nationalist Christian extremism. The phallocentric, male-centered patriarchy, which says that women are playthings, women are to be disposed with. So if anything, this might actually allow him to sink his fangs a little deeper into another demographic, and that is the, let's say, not quite incel, but let's just say fairly unattractive demographic of beer-bellied white men who say, yeah, that's what I'm voting, let me go register to vote. So that's the important thing. He may still lead in the polls if he doesn't get disqualified for something else. But as you were reading, as you were talking about this, and Reese, you as well, I'm thinking to myself, what would be the thing? As you said, it could be a discovery. Now, remember, I guess this was back, September, a year and a half ago, when he was there for the impeachment trial and the money laundering stuff, where one of his buddies was trying to help conceal the affair and all that. Well, remember, the lady, one of the ladies anyway, that he was alleged to have been having an affair with, was sitting there to be called on as a witness in the trial in the library, in the legislature or something, and they never called her. Well, when they showed her walking through the legislature, she looked as you would expect, you know, a peroxide blonde with her hair up, like pulled back like a rooster. And so, you know, very stand by your man on part of Senator Paxton until it's not. What could be the discovery? Maybe the discovery is, having dodged that bullet, here come this peroxide blonde again. Oh, you still talking? That's it. So now I'm just trying to think, what would be the thing after all the dirt y'all done together, which has caused real harm to people in Texas, that would make you stop? It might be that this John showed up again and she done seen the phone. Like, wait a minute, that's the broad that, you know what? That's it. So I don't know. We don't know, but I bet you we're gonna find out now.
It's adultery.
You think it's what you said,
I'm
Reese?
speculating. Because they already know he get down with the freaky dicky. But it's like, okay, wait a minute, hold up. Well, how much money is coming out the account? The money, I'm speculating. But I'm thinking it was a little bit too much money going out to bleach blonde, bad built body, whoever, fill the blank person. Because it says, I looked it up, how child. You call me a heathen, but I had to Google biblical grounds. I looked up biblical grounds.
Oh, what is it?
It's okay. Matthew 19. This is the AI summary, so look, it may not be right. Elon Musk might have messed with it. It says Matthew 19:9 states that divorce is permissible when the spouse has committed adultery or sexual immorality. I'm just gonna leave that hanging right there. What that immorality could mean. Yeah. The other one could be abandonment by an unbelieving spouse. Considering that Ken Paxton, the Lord this, Jesus this in his statement, the unbelieving part, you could probably cancel that out. So adultery or sexual immorality, but I'm gonna go with the side of some money out the door. That's what I'm speculating based on what they say.
All I know, when I sat here and saw Ken Paxton's statement, all I could think about was Steve Harvey saying, "Father God, oh Father God." These again, fraud. He is a fraud. And again, listen. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian, he calls it cheap grace. We understand grace. Yeah. We understand grace and mercy. We understand ain't nobody perfect. Folk have made mistakes. No question. But when you Ken Paxton and you sitting here acting like you are Jesus' armor bearer. And when you got Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who took that big money and kissed Ken Paxton's ass, and he think he's a high priest of Texas? Yeah. Nah, y'all live something different. So I think this is also Angela saying, your little punk ass ain't gonna be no United States Senator. Damn. You got that too.
Hope not.
You got that too. Well, it's gonna be all interesting. Oh, y'all, I gotta leave it there. I just just had a little too much fun with Ken, and so the last thing, look, I already got deal with punk ass Ted Cancun Cruz being one of my United States senators. And I damn sure don't want that fool Ken Paxton. So we'll see what them so-called evangelical Republicans do over in their primary. Reese, thanks a bunch. Greg, thanks a bunch. I appreciate it, folks. That's it for us. I got to go. Y'all, we want y'all to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your support is critical to our success. If you want to support us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Also, click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. If you want to see that checkup money order, first of all, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mail it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Mind. Available at bookstores nationwide. Get your copy that I read on Audible. That's right. You can also, of course, listen to our audio podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast and Network. Our podcast is actually on platforms all over, all major platforms. We just do it through iHeart. We have a deal with them. And don't forget to shop BlackStarNetwork.com. Support Black-owned businesses. So go to shopBlackStarNetwork.com. And you can check it out there as well. Then, of course, support the app Fanbase. You can, of course, download the app, and they are in the middle of a Series A fundraise trying to raise $17 million. $12.6 million has been raised. If you want more information on to invest in Fanbase, go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. Y'all, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Time for Truth Talks.